Welcome to Awaken the Minds. I'm Monica.
And I'm Mikael. Together, we're your guides on this journey of exploration and awakening.
Here on Awaken the Minds, we dive deep into the mysteries of life and beyond, from spirituality and reincarnation
to marriage, personal growth, and the secrets of the universe. And yes, we'll even talk about aliens.
Because let's face it, the truth is out there, and so is the love and wisdom we all need to evolve. So whether you're seeking answers or just curious about the unseen forces shaping our reality,
you found your tribe and the vibes.
So let's awaken the minds together.
Welcome back, guys, to Awaken the Minds. I am your host, Mikael. With me, as always, my beautiful wife. I'll let her present herself.
Hello, everyone. I am the beautiful wife.
Well, we hope you guys are having an amazing day. We are appreciated for you guys joining us. We appreciate you guys tuning in.
Thank you guys for coming back. But all of you, too, that have been coming back and those that are not subscribed to our channel, we're still at 85% that are not being subscribed, that are watching our stuff and are sharing our stuff. So we would appreciate if you guys could hit that subscribe button. That really just helps us get the algorithm going and showing up in other people's For You pages on YouTube. So we would really appreciate if you guys could subscribe and keep the algorithm so people know that like-minded people like you are also subscribing to channels like these. So if you guys can do us that favor at awakentheminds.podcast, which we will add it down here.
Yep, she said it. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Yeah, I think that's all.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Eventually down the line, we'll probably have some more. Probably our own website. Who knows? Stay tuned, though. We are making merch. We just got some stickers in.
Yeah.
So that's a little first step into some merch for you guys. But we do have stickers available.
And soon we hope to have, obviously, merch where you guys can share the message, elevate the human consciousness with us, and just kind of get the word out there, even through clothing, because clothing is art. So we hope that you guys can help us with that, and hopefully us also creating clothes and all of that helps awaken the mind in a different way. So yeah.
Yep. Well, for today, we will be talking about our plant medicine spiritual journey, I guess. We will be elaborating a little bit more how we've helped ourselves and how these things have also helped us, in better ways than the worst, I guess I could say.
And by those things, we are talking about our favorite subject, which will be psychedelics, DMT. And this is not, which is something that we're going to start putting in the disclosure of our videos, is we are not telling you guys to do these things. We're not experts.
We're not promoters.
I never want you guys to think that, we're telling you guys that you guys shouldn't go to your doctor and get your medications or whatever. This is just something that has worked for us, but definitely has brought us healing, not only internally but externally. Kind of figure out that most of our sicknesses that come from past lives, which we will get into that with our experiences with the psychedelics, with the DMT, with plant medicine, and most importantly, plant medicine itself. Once again, these are not, I guess you can say, legal drugs, or however you want to see them. I don't know.
That's a topic for everybody. To each their own, I guess.
Yeah, right? I guess so. I mean, there's so much medication that's out in this world too that is harming our lungs and harming our
entire system internally.
Yeah, and I don't feel like plant medicine does that. So that's just my opinion. That's our opinion. So yeah, let's get into it.
Shizzle. Yeah, guys, we're not any financial advisors. We are not any plant medicine advisors. So if you guys do these things, do them at your own risk. Consult, an expert in those fields as far as who you're doing it with. Obviously, you also cannot just go and randomly do it with whoever. It requires a bit of research, and especially who you're doing it with. They'll be the ones that'll be able to help you and guide you through every step of the way, so that you have a how would I say, like a
better
yeah, I
experience.
guess just having an overall great experience.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go look at someone at Craigslist and think that think that they're like selling you the real stuff, because one thing that you guys do need to take conscious is that a lot of people, since ayahuasca has become a trend, we don't see it as a trend. We actually see it as something sacred and something that has helped us heal and understand dimensions and understand how the world really works. They put fentanyl, what is it called? Fentanyl, the one that they put sometimes in weed and people end up like overdosing. Fentanyl. I think it's called fentanyl. But anyways, or acid, just acid and ayahuasca do not mix. So, ayahuasca comes from a plant from the jungle. So just be careful who you're taking it from. Make sure that these experts are firsthand, and make sure you guys know that they know the history of the plant and the reason that they're doing it, or if that's anything with mushrooms or anything like that you guys are planning to do, bufo, which we will also be getting into. But definitely just a disclosure, just want you guys to know we're not encouraging it. We're just love it, and we personally would love to share our stories and how that has changed our lives.
Yep. And as my wife said, we're opening the doors to our experiences with ayahuasca, mushrooms, and bufo. This is something sacred that we take seriously, due to the fact that a lot of healing has come from that to us. And it's these medicines are something that's ancient. It's just ancient medicine has been depicted in a lot of whatever you want to call it, hieroglyphs and wall paintings and whatnot. And as many of you guys know, we see life a little different. And today we just ask the public, our viewers, to be open to the conversation.
Open your mind and open your heart is all we ask. So let's what do you think is the difference of legal drugs and these illegal drugs that people are talking? Like, what example can you give them that they can kind of start opening up their mind to how we see it?
Well, I wouldn't say how we see it. I would say how I see things. Is obviously how I see things could probably be a little bit different than how you see things, right?
I don't think so, but okay. We're yin and yang.
But how I would describe the difference between plant medicine and legal drugs, I guess we'll start with alcohol, right? We know that, and anybody who's ever drank alcohol knows what alcohol can do to you, or maybe somebody that you know. For instance, like I know a lot of people who get aggressive, blackout, just after having a couple of shots, or don't know how to control themselves as far as how much to intake, right? There, like everything, there's a amount of intaking, and obviously if you take too much, especially alcohol, you numb yourself, you black out, and then you become somebody who you're not, right? Because for those who don't know, we said this in another episode before, that alcohol comes from, if I'm correct, it was a Hebrew or Arabic word, but the meaning of alcohol means alcohol, which means flesh-eating spirit. So,
body-eating spirit.
Yeah, so then once you start consuming a lot of this, it starts eating up, it starts pretty much taking control of your spirit. For us, or how I see things, that's how I see alcohol. Obviously, if you're going to drink alcohol, I'm not advising you guys to or not, but the way we normally, if we even consume alcohol at all, it's probably really just like a little bit, maybe like a glass of wine, and probably that's about it. We probably will go like another 5-6 months without any alcohol in our system. Next up would probably be the weed, which we know here in Vegas has become legalized. But the thing with I guess legalized weed, it is now, the reason it became legal was for a controlled type of system, right? They legalized this weed, they put all these chemicals in it now to I guess keep control. I won't get into too much details, but keep the control.
Yeah, well, I mean, weed, it's not bad. It's not bad. It actually was a plant made for I genuinely do believe it was
Yeah.
made for people for cancer, and so they could feel like they're slowing down and their system is, they feel relaxed, you know. And people, if you think about it, people that smoke every day or are smoking, they feel lazy and they feel tired and they feel slow, you know. I mean, you can relate. You used to smoke a lot, you know, and thankfully he doesn't anymore. But if you were to put yourself in those shoes and see how, if you were still smoking as much as you were smoking back then, you would notice that you probably wouldn't even be here being able to do this, because your brain just kind of like helps you set back a little bit, you know, and it's used for that type of healing, and people abuse it, and this is when it becomes a drug. And also, we're not saying that ayahuasca, DMT, shrooms cannot become an addiction. It can definitely become an addiction, because how we just had one of our current guests, a Spanish speaker. So if you guys don't know, we also do Spanish. We're also trying to expand in that area. She talks about how some people become addicted to ayahuasca, become addicted to healing, but yet they're avoiding all the work they have to do on this earth. You know, they're not putting, you can get all this information, yet you're not putting no work into it. You're not getting the messages and you're not doing nothing with that information.
Pretty much like a workout, right? If I give you a workout plan and you're like, oh, you know, in 3 to 5 months, I want to lose 10, 20 pounds. But then I give you a whole 3 to 5 month plan and you don't follow it. And then at 3 to 5 months, you're like, hey, I didn't get no results. It's pretty much the same thing with plant medicine, right? Like plant medicine is going to show you everything, you know, everything you're avoiding, everything that you've kind of like pushed to the side, everything that you didn't want to feel, whether that's emotional, something, just everything in general, you know, like anything you've avoided, anything that you've numbed for so long. These plant medicines are going to show you those things, because it's telling you those are the things you need to work on. For instance, for me, with my experience, mine oftentimes, especially like in my beginning journey, for me, it was very hard for me to love, right? It was hard for me to really like open up my heart to a lot of people, because, you know, what I've gone through, it kind of like put me in this place of like, I can't open up my heart to a lot of people, because back then I just had that mentality of, oh, you know, if this person and family have done this to me, then, you know, what makes me think anybody else won't do the same things, right? So then that's how, you know, obviously plant medicines showed me those things where it's like, oh, you need to start opening up your heart, because you start blocking that heart chakra.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like psychedelics is something that is about healing, remembering past lives. It is about the divine unity of love. It's also about the uncomfortable, beautiful, and path to self-realization, and having a bond with, I guess you can say, either God consciousness or Christ consciousness. You know, like I said, we're just sharing what we saw, what we felt at the moment of doing these experiences with the plant medicine that we're very grateful for. We've always said that, you know, and this is something that we've talked about together, where you can't go into your healing journey thinking that you can continue to avoid things after you have a healing experience with the plant medicine. And, you know, to me, it's kind of crazy to know that there is people that get addicted to it and they don't do nothing about it. You know, they kind of like to live in the clouds.
It's kind of more like another addiction for them. Like they're trying to avoid an addiction for another addiction.
You can't substitute that. And people substitute a feeling. And this is where you have to learn, for example, the reason why kind of we did Awaken the Minds, it was because one of our trips, you know, we know this is part of our purpose as a couple and as individuals, that we have to elevate the human consciousness. And it was up to us. I mean, we could have sat here and just continued to do our healing and our journeys, but we're not doing nothing about it. You know, every day we're living and we're doing our jobs, yet we come home and we fucking hate it, because we're like, it's not helping me become a better person. But now, you know, this is something that plant medicine has helped us do, is really find our path as humanity and recode our brain, because there's a lot of things that we carry as well and things that we were told that should be believed and shouldn't be believed, that you kind of have to say bye to your old self. And a lot of people have a really, really, really hard time doing that.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially, we just recently did an episode of the ego, which ego is going to be one of the main things that are going to really not let you, I guess, progress in life, right? Move forward. Because the ego is always going to want to keep you either like in this safe space, or it might even tell you like something negative. For instance, like, oh, maybe you're not good enough. Why should you have those things? That's how the ego kicks in, starts almost like self-sabotaging you in a way. And once you start doing like plant medicine, it really
kind of like
shifts.
slowly kills it.
Yeah.
Kills like the ego in a sense. And when people say ego death, it's like they think like, oh my god, like, but it's really a part of you that's dying, a part of you that needs to let go of, and just having that confidence that life will turn out better and greater. But we also have a difficult time believing that because we're barely reprogramming our brain again. We're barely seeing what we can actually do.
And yeah, definitely, I think if you guys do ever experience these plant medicines, once again, whoever you're going with or do it with, just make sure they are experienced in it, because you also don't want to just randomly deal with anybody. Like how my wife said, you find somebody on Craigslist and you end up having like a horrible trip, or like you don't know what's really in the medicine itself, because there are people who want to add all these extra things to enhance, I guess, the experience. But in reality, how my wife is saying, like, some of these things that they add just don't coincide together. Definitely the ego death is really it's really pretty much what plant medicine helps you realize, as far as the things that obviously you need to work on, you need to let go. For instance, for me, I guess one of my ego deaths was controlling, because I don't have a problem with controlling people, but I had a problem with controlling how like my day goes, right? And my wife can attest to that. I was like, I'm set on this. It needs to go like this, and that was one of the things where I was just used to always taking care of myself. I was always used to just not doing things by myself, but I just always structured my day my way, type of thing.
Definitely struggled a lot with that. You hated when things would not go your divine way, or you were like, well, I had this planned and I had to, and it's just kind of letting go of that control and being like, hey, it's no longer just you now, it's kind of us now, and whatever comes up with me now, you're kind of stuck with it too, like if like we're saying we're going to a party, but I'm feeling like shit, we're not gonna go, like, there's just those unplanned events, or just the fact like, hey, we can't go today, we need to record, or we need to do something. It's just about letting go of that expectation. And I feel just as expectation kills relationships, it kills your day, and you could just kind of have to be ready for the unexpected. And sometimes we're just not okay with that, because we want to be able to control how our day goes. But it's just life, it just loves to throw things in our way.
Most definitely, especially, or I guess I could say I recommend like doing it with couples, like couples doing it together as well, because when you both heal together, that's like, you become like a power couple.
It's like a unicorn. It's like that horse. So, man, okay. So there was this one time. I need to tell you guys about the story. So if you guys have ever been on shrooms or anything like that, you will know that you have experienced the best laughs in the world. They literally feel like they take you through all different dimensions, and you're laughing in every dimension that you exist in every parallel dimension you exist in. And we were talking about this one girl that we had seen, and I was explaining to him how beautiful, to my best friend, how beautiful she was. And I was like, dude, yeah, she looks so beautiful. Like, she looked Romanian. Like, I don't know. Like, she just looked majestic, had like curly hair. And then my husband goes, yeah, you know how she looked like? And then, like, keep in mind, we're on shrooms. We're all like just like healing together or whatever. And then he's like, she looks like a horse. And then I'm going to put the picture of the horse that showed up in everyone's head. We were cracking up. I swear to you, I felt like my laugh was like out of this world. I don't know. I personally don't know what people say or what people like mean when they say that their shroom experience was really uncomfortable. It was really bad. It was an experience that they'll probably never do again. I personally don't know what that means. So I could never tell you that was a horrible experience, you know, like having to go through those different dimensions and not knowing what to do. Because to me, that's actually like super cool, you know, that's super beautiful. And those little things right there, I don't think we've ever had bad experiences when it comes to shrooms or when it comes to ayahuasca. Like, you know, Charito has said, like, you know, bad experiences are probably the best experiences.
I guess these bad experiences that, you know, you hear people say, it comes down to what we were talking about earlier. It's like there's all the things that you avoid, and those things that you avoid, believe it or not, they start building energy, right? For instance, you know, I guess if people say, oh, you know, I'm seeing like this demon that follows me around or whatever, but in reality, and I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but you know, with my experience, it's always been, it's like those things that you avoid, it builds like a negative energy.
Yeah.
And those things just start building and building, and it eventually transforms itself into that negative energy that you've been avoiding for so long. And then that energy, whether you have like a dream or like sleep paralysis or something, it's going to show you like, you know, you've been avoiding me type of thing. And a lot of us like see these dreams or like sleep paralysis as like whatever, I was having like a spiritual warfare or something. But
yeah,
which it could be also, you know, like I said, I'm not saying it's not. Oftentimes we're not conscious of the things that we do. It's pretty much like the subconscious mind reminding you like, yo, you know, this is what you've been avoiding. When are you going to face it type of thing?
a lot of these entities that get attached to us, which we have learned through our experiences, and especially because I've always been a person that can see things, can hear things, since I could remember, is kind of comes from past lives. You know, everything's happening at the same time. Everything, like, we're not living a different life. We're just like, it's like this much of a layer that it's like so apart from each one. And sometimes it comes from past lives of things that we did. You know, there's people that have entities that they've killed people, and then they're been followed all their life after that because they gave their soul to whatever, a demonic entity or whatever the case may be. And we also don't look into that. It's just, there's just so much to unravel when it comes to spirituality and the medicine.
I've noticed, I don't know if you guys ever seen like a court case, right? And someone gets sentenced for like whatever, you've been sentenced to like 1,000 years, you know, you'll pay for it on this life, and they would say, and the next life. And if you did, and they say something like, if you ever decide to reincarnate, you will be paying it with that life too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was like, bro, that's wild. Like,
yeah.
They even tell you this in court.
Yeah, no. And it's like, words are power. So that's why we're like, when people, they like maldecir, like malice their partners, and they're like, you're going to pay for what you did to me in the next life. I hope you know that. And they meet again, and then they try to work it out, and now they're toxic again. And then it's like, yeah, well, you're kind of paying what she said you were going to do. And you kind of like, those are their curses, right?
Yeah.
Like they say those are their curses, where it's just crazy because you start noticing these things through plant medicine, where you're just kind of like, okay. And then you kind of just have to go, I guess, like do some type of ritual, some type of ceremony, to release that, to release yourself, because at the end of the day, it's really about releasing the spirit and letting the spirit do its divine work.
Honestly, I think a lot of times too that we reincarnate is because we still haven't healed our karma, right? We haven't worked on our karma and healed it, and I think we just keep reincarnating until we're finally conscious of those things of like, hey, it's time to clear that karma that you've been avoiding, whether it's on this life, the past life before, 500 years ago, whatever the case may be. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that once you start getting into elevating your consciousness, and you know, especially working with plant medicine, is going to show you all these things because you start connecting to your DNA and your RNA, right? And your DNA and RNA is going to have all the information.
Have you ever felt you've met someone in this life that is very resonates much to a past life that obviously you didn't know in this moment, obviously in that moment, but that you're like, oh wow, we've definitely done lives together, you know? Have you experienced that?
Well, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, really, we are. I mean, answer the question, buddy. Get nervous for what? Tell him you love me. Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess with you, I would say it was one of those moments because once we met, everything was like so like neutral, right? Everything just like clicked very good. Like it felt like we've known each other more than the time that we actually knew each other in this physical world.
Yeah, I also feel that our understanding for each other was very mutual. Not only mutual, but very, very kind of out of this world. You know, I don't feel that I felt that with anybody else, where I was just kind of like,
just another guy.
yeah, like it was not only that, but it was just kind of like there's just so many shit in my head that I always felt like I wasn't gonna find somebody, because I was just kind of like, dude, the way I think and the way I see life, I'm like, if those ways are gonna
nobody match all crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, nobody's gonna match this crazy, because this type of crazy is in here and out here it's a lot of crazies, you know, but it's also a different type of crazy. So then when we kind of met each other and we can kind of see that we can have infinite conversations, it was kind of crazy, right? So yeah.
Obviously with through meditations and plant medicine, we were actually able to kind of, I guess, visit one of those past lives that we've lived together for a couple of.
I was gonna say a lot of them actually. You know, we visited. The first one that I visited, well, I think we both visited, was the Egyptian times when I was an Egyptian queen, and I think you were an emperor, but you were an emperor from another, obviously,
city or whatever,
another city, town, whatever. And I promised myself and vowed that I would never have kids in that life, because the lineage, because we all come here to heal a lineage, you know, and we come here so our spirit can help the next generation type of thing. So it just, why are you laughing? What's it called? And, you know, those are just like,
came here to heal me.
Yeah, came here to more than do that. no, but like, it's just like, you know, I promised myself I just will never, and you know, you would try to pursue me in that life, and I would just be like, I really can't, dude. Like, maybe if you want to like fuck or something, I'm down, but if you try to do more than that, we're not going past that, you know. But and it was just a vow that I vowed myself very hard, and you know, and I feel like in this life I come here to do a balance of that, you know. It's like, not feel that having kids is a condemnation, but also not feeling like not having kids is a condemnation, where I'm like, fuck, you know, I don't want to have kids, and then feel like, oh, I do want to have kids, but I'm gonna condemn myself. Like, just finding that balance where it's like, hey, it's okay if it happens, cool. If it doesn't, I'm okay with it. Like, you know, if we have kids, cool. If we don't, I'm genuinely okay with it, you know.
And it's one of those things where you have to kind of, not just communication, but have an understanding, obviously, where we are in life, where we want to get to, and our journey. You know, as we always say in our pod here, we always say we have 3 journeys. We have, for example, would be my journey, her journey, and our journey together. There's always going to be 3 journeys. And one thing that I've realized that oftentimes happens is in a relationship, people think that it becomes just one journey. Not saying this is what happens, but, you know, majority of the time is the reason why there's a lot of divorce rates, because one person ends up being submissive or submitting to that one person. And now it becomes this person's journey, and this person does this and that, continuing on and whatever. You got something to say, buddy?
No, nothing. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you.
Yeah, I guess just one of those things that you start learning and start seeing, not only within yourselves, but you start seeing those things within your family, your friends. And it comes down to like a realization, you know, these are you know, the family that say they're family, that they're ready to die with me. Are they really that, or are they just all talk? Same thing with your friends, you know, are these really my homies? Do they really know me? Do they even know the deepest, darkest parts of me? And when I express myself to them, like, do they give me good advice, or are they just
Yeah.
kind of like telling me, oh, whatever, drink it off, smoke it off, forget about it, numb it, push it so deep down that you forget about it. But in doing those things is like you start creating a ticking bomb within yourself, because now you keep pushing everything down, keep pushing everything out, avoiding. Eventually, that cup's gonna get full.
Yeah.
And you have to get that out somehow, some way, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
I think through plant medicine is something that there's just some things that you can't learn through books. There's just things that you can only learn through there's only some truths that the earth can teach you, and the earth is plant medicine, but so like let's say like, let's set up the scenario. I mean, whatever. Let's say I go up to you, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, Poppy. I was like, what if I told you that there's a plant that can let you see past your soul? Huh? And like, would you be scared of it? Or would you like be interested? Especially like look how cute I am. like think about everything else besides how I approach you.
I mean, if you come to me like that, oh yeah, Bobby, what are you trying to tell me? Huh? I can't trust you with that.
No, but I'm serious. Okay, if anybody were just to come up to you and be like, hey, what if there's a medicine that can see your soul? Like, would that intrigue you, or would you be like, oh, bullshit?
I guess it depends on the approach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I went, oh, Bobby, you'll be like, oh.
Mommy, esa cosa ahí no lo quiero.
We're not Cubans, by the way. We're not trying to make anybody feel bad or look bad, which is just how we are. Yeah.
But I think I'll be like interested. I'll kind of like play along with it at first, I'll be like, all right, let me see what this is all about,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm a person who's very observant. Like, I need to observe everything before I even do anything. Like, I need to find my research, do my research, and whatnot. So definitely I would ask a lot of questions. Definitely I would, I guess, ask if I can, hey, is there, whatever, can I get a sample type of thing? Like, I also don't want to be like, this person tells
Like,
me,
motherfucker, you want a sample of ayahuasca?
I'm just saying, like, especially if it's something new to me.
Yeah. So what intrigued you to do ayahuasca? Because I know I had told you about it, but like what was the moment you were like, okay, like I would like to try this medicine?
For me, let's say, when was that? Like
when we just started dating. I mean, that was like 5
years
years ago.
I guess in that time, I guess I felt stuck in the moment.
Okay.
I feel like
I can see that.
I felt like I was like very stuck because I used to drive like out on the road, right? I used to travel around, and I just kind of got bored of that. And then pretty much after I pretty much left that, I was kind of like, I had some time to myself. So, I spent a lot of time reading, but I was like, okay, I'm reading these books. And then I guess my consciousness started working. I was like, why are you reading these books? Like, what is it that you're searching for, right? Mm-hmm. So then I went on this mission of like, okay, I need to search for answers. Yeah. I guess I wanted answers. And a lot of those things were like answers within myself and obviously answers of the universe, right? Like, why do these things exist? Like, why is the reason why this is built, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, for me, that was one of the reasons why I like decided I was like, okay, I need answers and I need to see some answers,
Yeah.
Because I'm a person who's like, I need to see it to believe it type of thing.
But what was it that I said that you were like, oh, like that's interesting, I would like to try it? Like, because obviously I didn't put a gun over your head and was like, do it right now, Oh, shut up. Was it like the way that I was with you? Like, was it very foreign to you? Because I feel like a lot of the ways that I was too with you was very foreign to you, like the way that I love and the way that I am is very foreign to you. And I feel like maybe seeing that I was very much a unicorn, I think that's kind of like maybe, but I might just be talking out of what I saw.
Well, yeah, not only that, just the way you were. Obviously, you're a person who's like very expressive. Mm-hmm. You express a lot with emotion. Obviously, when you first met me, like my emotions were like 2 emotions.
2 emojis. 2 fucking emojis. That's all you're getting from the text message.
Yeah, but obviously that too. Like I said, that was one of what I explained earlier was one of the things. Obviously, wanting answers, wanting to just better myself was a couple of the other ones, and understanding more myself. Like I guess at that time I didn't really have a whole lot of understanding of myself. I was like dipping my toes into barely getting to understand myself, going through my awakening, seeing things that I guess I never really paid attention to. And I guess if that didn't answer your question, when you told me about it, I was kind of like brushed it off at first, but then I started doing my research. I was like, oh, okay, so this is kind of like, right. So to have a moral of the story of me, how I was before, obviously in my awakening.
Yeah.
I was just a person who always drank, who always smoked, and that was like my constant thing every day, right? Numbing all my pain and emotions. Like that's just how I used to live. And obviously once I had my awakening, I was like, it gets to a point where you avoid and push things down so much that you kind of like block it out or forget about it, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
So then when you told me about ayahuasca, because you're like, oh, ayahuasca helps with pretty much realigning you with your soul, connecting with your higher self, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, okay. So then I did my research and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And then with me doing that is like, okay, now I have an understanding of what it is because you told me about it. I did my research on it. And then from there, I was like, all right, I'm already in this path of enlightening and heightening my frequency and my consciousness, right? And if this is also going to help me, I guess, get some of the answers that I'm seeking, why not, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can go down to the club and be like, yo, I'll have a shot, and you take it. Might as well have something that's healing for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now the main question that everybody would like to know is obviously what is ayahuasca? What are magic?
Well, before we get to that, what's your experience? What got you into?
Oh my gosh. Why are you making me nervous? Nah, just kidding.
What was it that made you interested in ayahuasca?
Oh, well, Charito, which you guys, if obviously it's not going to be in Spanish, but she's one of our guests for this upcoming episodes. I had met her. I don't even know how I met her. Honestly, I don't think I remember. Oh no, I met her through an old friend, acquaintance that presented me to Charito. And then she had done ayahuasca, and I kept telling her that I was very much interested in doing ayahuasca. And because I was going through a lot. I had just gotten my mom had just gotten deported. I had to grow up and take care of my little sister. It was no longer just me and my brothers, my mom, it was just me and my siblings. And from there, she had told me about her experience with ayahuasca, and I was just kind of like, hey, I'm like super interested. And she was like, it's not for everyone. But I was like, I understand that, but like, I've been in the spiritualism for a very long time because my mom was also very spiritual. My parents were religious, and I just believed far beyond that there was something higher that could give us the answers, and there was something that can help us, elevate the consciousness. And so then from there, she was not willing to give me the information of the shaman. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, if it's going to come to me, if I'm meant to do it, I will find him, And literally I went with Charito, and Charito, like literally the same day was kind of like, hey, you should really do ayahuasca. I know someone, and it was the same guy she knew. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, oh, I've been trying to get his information. And she was like, I'll give it to you. So then that's when she had given me that information. And then from there, I did it. And my family was just kind of like, you're crazy. You're doing drugs. You're getting yourself in something, like, do you even know if this is safe? Like, who are you going with? And the first time I did it by myself. I didn't go with anybody. At the time, Charito ended up taking care of people for whenever you purge or whatever. So I felt a little more comfortable, but I knew I was going to go. I had the mentality that I was going by myself, and whatever. And I hoped that it was for my greater good, and I was going to be in a position that I was not going to regret. So obviously when that happened, I met the shaman. The shaman was awesome, and we still know him to this day. I genuinely love him, and I will probably never do ayahuasca with anybody else other than him. Mm-hmm. And from there, I did ayahuasca, and I feel like I've always had I was always a weird child. I was the weird kid. I was definitely, Christian will tell you this. My brother will literally tell you this.
Well, yeah, because we all have that. We're all, one of us are either the black sheep of the family. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, I'm the black sheep of the family.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, I was listening to, maybe it's like The Shepherd, I guess. Like, it kind of, I don't know. I've been reading a lot or like seeing shows about Jesus Christ and stuff. And I was like, okay, I think I like more like the shepherd, like the shepherd of the family, because, but anyways, that kind of just like, I was just always weird. I was a weird ass kid. And so from there, I ended up, I ended up just always being weird. My brother was always like, dude, you're so fucking weird. You're such a weird girl. Like, get the fuck away from me. And I was just kind of like,
Now we're together.
and now we're weird together. Yes. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of like my experience. My mission when I went to ayahuasca the first time was kind of like, I had no expectations. I used to look at videos, but I was like, no, I'm not going to have any expectations. If it's a bad experience, I'm pretty sure I'm going to learn from it. I was never afraid of it. It felt like meeting up with an old friend.
Yeah.
So I did it. And it just helped me understand my family and why we were going through what we were going through so much more.
So everybody's going to have their own experience, right? Everybody, just because we explain our experiences, it doesn't mean you'll have the same experience. Everybody has their own journey, and whatever it is that you need to work on or heal, that's what you're going to experience pretty much.
Yeah.
And after you start healing those things and being conscious of those things, when you do it another time or whatever, that experience becomes even better, because now it's telling you that, okay, you've done the work to heal these things that I've shown you. Now I can show you more, right? More beyond this, I guess you could say, like the veil that you've put up in front of yourself.
With that being said, with our stories being said, now for the main question: what is ayahuasca? What are the magic mushrooms? And what is bufo?
Let's start off with ayahuasca, right? Ayahuasca, to briefly explain it, it's like being guided through the spiritual jungle by a wise grandmother with visions and lessons. Magic mushrooms are more playful or cosmic, connecting you with the earth and your psyche. And bufo is like a rocket. That one,
Out.
I would definitely recommend start with the
Mushrooms.
either mushrooms, ayahuasca, and then bufo.
Yeah, I don't think people are ready for ayahuasca first.
Yeah, definitely don't start off with those. Those are like the more, I guess, not intense, but there's like a level to it. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
there's. When it comes to ayahuasca, and I believe bufo too, I've never done it. My husband has, but I feel with ayahuasca, if there's things that you really have been avoiding, it's gonna grab you by the hair and be like, here it is, and you're like, I don't want to see it, and it's gonna face you and make you face it. And if you're not ready for that type of intensity, definitely do not start with ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And do not start with bufo, because that will literally take you. It's like you have control, but you don't. It's going to show you literally what it says. Like, have no expectations going in, because it's going to show you what you need to know. And that's pretty much what those two do. Mushrooms is a little more smoother. You can, like, depending on the dosage, you can kind of control your trip.
Yeah.
And control what you see and control what you don't want to see.
I mean, you can definitely go in and out of it. Also.
Yeah, and you can kind of, like you can cut in and
guide it.
out, and then you can kind of guide yourself through the things that you really want to see. But it does go deep dive into your brain, where it might be strong for you. I personally don't know if mushrooms is a huge, strong medicine, because we started with very strong medicines.
Yeah.
And so people, when they first do psychedelics or DMT, and they do mushrooms, to them, those are really strong. And they're like, oh, heck no, I would never do mushrooms again. My experience was horrible. I never want to do it again. And I feel that we didn't have that experience, because we started with probably the most intense ones, which they didn't feel intense, and I just wouldn't be able to explain to you guys what the intensity is unless I'm like kind of like dictating or picking out on each one, but it's hard.
Yeah, like my wife said, there's obviously levels to everything. If you want to start with something, again, not telling you guys what to do, to each their own. Everybody's responsible for their own research and for what they decide to do. But yeah, like my wife was saying, there's definitely levels to every plant medicine. With my experience, I would definitely say start with like mushrooms, then ayahuasca. I mean, really with those is really all you would need. Bufo, I tried it because it was presented to me, maybe at the time that I needed to for it to be presented to me. But that one's just more instant, more like I said, it's like a rocket. As soon as you do it, you're in, and that can last anywhere from like 5 to like 30 minutes. But I guess I can explain how each one works, right? So I guess we can start with ayahuasca. For instance, the duration of that would be about 4 to 8 hours. The speed of it to, I guess, start kicking in is between 30 to 60 minutes. Usually after that, it's kind of like how you'll start feeling it, start kicking in, start doing its work on you. Intensity level, I wouldn't say it's high. I'd say it's maybe like a medium high. Definitely visuals could be strong. Geometric, spiritual beings, you'll probably be able to see the spiritual connection with that one. Definitely you start going into a deep connection, not just spiritually, but within your spirit. And then obviously Mother Ayahuasca is going to be the one that will be guiding you in that journey. Along with, the jungle spirits, we all have some sort of animal spirit or even our ancestors and whatnot that will eventually show up for us and guide us as well. As far as it showing you the ego part about it, definitely is between like a medium to a high level, because it can be very confronting to the ego. The ego is going to keep trying to maybe not let you see. But I mean, once you go on this ride, like,
it's like all of them.
You got to ride it.
Yeah, it's like all of them. I feel that the reason why the ego fights is because we go into expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when you do medicines, you really have to release all those expectations, because it's just not going to let you fully be light. And that's the best way to explain it, is light is what gets you the messages. When you become the fountain of the light, and unblocking that light is literally what it does.
Yeah, most definitely, because you'll be guiding in this journey, and that journey, once you take it, you kind of you have to be able to really face your fears, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like ayahuasca, best way I can explain it was just kind of like a river, pulling me into the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of telling me like, hey, there's nothing else left, but this is bare of who you are and all the things, and this is who you are in pain and egos and your ancestors, and this is where the cycle of loss ends. And just kind of being stripped down completely and becoming aware of your divine purpose is kind of what ayahuasca did for me, and just kind of becoming that soul remembrance and being present. And the reason we say she is also because she feels very motherly. The moment you go into her realm is a very motherly field. It's not masculine. And maybe once you guys enter into these psychedelics, DMTs and stuff like that, you can kind of see and tell which one's a masculine and what's a feminine. For example, mushrooms to me are very, very masculine. It's a very masculine, but also it can feel at some points very feminine.
Yeah,
but
get like a little bit of both.
Yeah, you can get like a little bit of both. And for Bufo, I'm not sure.
Bufo, with my experience, I could say it could be a bit of both too. I mean, I've only done it one time. That experience for me was just very freeing, at least in my experience. I didn't get very much visuals, but I just felt a weight came off of my shoulders. I just felt very light. I felt like a feather flying. I just felt very free, free of everything, like nothing to worry about, no fear, anxiety, nothing. Like literally just felt free. Like I was just skydiving. I never skydived, but I'm assuming that's what skydiving feels like.
Yeah. I mean, for Bufo, how long did it take for your experience, or how long does it take for the experience?
Diving into Bufo, the duration of that one can be anywhere from, as I mentioned earlier, it could be like 5 to 30 minutes, I guess, depending on each person's experience. When I went there's people who literally snapped out of it in like maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Mine was like the longest. Like I was the second person, and then I was by the time I got up, they're already done with everybody else.
That's crazy.
So mine was like the longest, which was like 30 minutes, I guess. I don't really know how much time I was there for.
Yeah.
But everybody else had like about 15 to 30 minutes also. And literally like I said, that one to kick in, literally it'll kick in within less than 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That one's like a straight shot to your higher conscious.
Yeah.
And the intensity on that one is very extremely high. So definitely recommend whoever you do these things with, again, make sure they're aware of the medicine and they've done their work in working with these plant medicines as well. And then for mushrooms, we can definitely get into that one as well. That one can be anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. But I also think depending on like a dosage that you take, it could probably even be like 10 to 12 hours.
Yup. And yeah, no, the mushrooms like I said, you can control them and you can kind of control the dosage of how that works. And I'm pretty sure it'll be the same if you were to do ayahuasca and you had access to it. But in our experiences have lasted about 6 to 8 hours on those. Okay. And it's crazy because I feel that a question everybody thinks a lot about is before they embark on this journey, and they always ask, what if I lose control and never come back the same? What are your thoughts on the same part?
Definitely, if you do it, you will not come back the same because, like I said, it comes down to getting the realization of the things that you need to work on. And it's up to you to decide, like, hey, I'm going to work on these things to better myself, or I'm going to keep avoiding these things and stay on the same playing field. Definitely, there will be a change if you do the work to change.
And I feel, honestly, if you're not ready for change, don't do it. Flat out, don't do it. Because if you think the person that you're with right now is the love of your life, you might come back and be like, that person is not the love of life. That person, I'm not going to build the life that I want with, and you just let go of so many things that you thought were going to benefit you at the moment. And if you're not ready for that, if you're not ready for that realization of, yeah, this is not the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, or if you thought that friend was your friend, it's going to strip you out of that illusion.
Yeah.
And some people are just not ready for that. And I would just not recommend it if you really don't want your life to change. Just stay the same, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you definitely don't want to change and you don't want to see life differently, stay away from plant medicine.
And with your experience with obviously the plant medicines that you've done, have you had a bad trip? And if you did it traumatize you, or how did that bad trip help you in a way?
I've had a lot of bad trips that people can say, oh my God, that was horrible. One was when I saw myself as a queen in Egypt and all the bad that I did as well. And not only that, but seeing things that my family never told me about that I ended up experiencing. It was a very bad trip, but I was honestly letting go of everything that was holding me back from the womb. And so I necessarily don't think it was a bad trip. I don't think it traumatized me. I think it liberated me. It liberated me because now you know your truth. And that's the most beautiful thing about plant medicine, is that nobody can tell you that that's not your truth. Yeah. And that you're not living by your truth. And I think that the most admirable thing in life is living by your truth. I've had a handful of them, but I don't think they're ever bad trips. I think they're the most liberating, most cleansing trips of my life.
I agree with you, especially how you say that it'll help you liberate yourself, even if it's a bad trip. But how you also said, again, if you're willing to do the work, and by doing the work, you know that, quote unquote, I guess to say, wasn't really a bad trip. It was a trip to show you the things that you need to work on. And for some people, it could be traumatizing because maybe they've gone so long without really facing, I guess, themselves in the mirror, right? When oftentimes you just go so long, so numb, so, I don't know, lost, or maybe stuck in a feeling or some sort of way, or maybe just your ego just never let you see anything else besides the truth.
Yeah.
And when they see the truth, as you could say, it traumatizes them. These medicines aren't for everybody unless you're ready to kill your ego. You're ready to face the things that you've been avoiding or brushing off, and you're willing to do the work that it's going to show you.
Kind of based off the history of ayahuasca, we'll start with ayahuasca, is who discovered ayahuasca and how was it discovered? So according to our research, ayahuasca reported being known in 1908 when a book, Amazon Plant Life by British botanist Richard Spruce, was published. I will put some pictures for you guys so you guys can see the book. In the 1930s, ayahuasca was introduced to urban areas of Brazil within religious contexts, and by the 1980s, its outreach extended to internal cities. So obviously, it started from 1908, 1930s. If you think about it now, it's not even that long ago. You know, it feels like it just happened yesterday. From there, obviously, how were the mushrooms discovered, which I feel like this one's a little more interesting. I really love mushrooms in general, and I think mushrooms are great, and I think they can really heal the world. But such as mushrooms, in 1956, Roger Him identified as a psychoactive mushroom, the psychoactive mushroom, and took it to R. Gordon Wasson. He brought it back from Mexico as a psilocybin in 1958. Albert Hoffman first identified the psilocybin and psilocybin as the active compounds in this mushroom. Albert, also known as a scientist, he was the one that discovered LSDs. He then found out and was super thrilled about the mushrooms, and he started doing also his investigations on the psychedelics, which was this mushroom, because he realized that it can enhance the vision, it can heal the body, it can heal people from very traumatic experiences. In this report that I will show you guys on the screen, this report from the Center of Psychedelic and Consciousness Research shows how mushrooms have helped and divinely healed a person. And most of this research is a suffering of ranges, right? Smoking, alcohol, drug abuse, distress, threatening life diseases, post-treatment, depression, and compulsive disorder or obsessive disorder. And we can go on and on of how all of that happened. From there, obviously, who discovered Bufo? You know, this guy. He's like, hey, well, scoot over, yo. He's literally hugging your leg. That is so cute. Let me take a picture. No, but who discovered the Bufo? Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to go?
Go.
All right. So it was. Oh. Go put your pants down. Nah, just kidding. It's called described and discovered in 1959 by Gerard as Bufo alvarius. Today classified as Encelius alvarius, largest native toad in the U.S. apart from the cane toad. So we'll put two different images so you guys can see which one, how they look very different or similar. In the mid-1960s, 1965 to 1967, researchers identified a toad's skin secretions contained the bufotine and the uniquely 5-MeO-DMT, a potent psychoactive component. Popular narratives claim Bufo was part of an ancient Mesoamerican ritual citing toad depictions, sorry guys, oops, in pre-Columbian art. Obviously, all of these were discovered by scientists. All of these are proof to have been healed. And it's just so beautiful when science can really back up the plant medicines, you know, and show us that it's just not in our head, but it is actually proven by science. And a lot of things are continuously being proved by science, you know. And yeah, it's awesome that scientists actually, and it was just not somewhere random. And obviously it's more credible because I'm pretty sure someone random gave it to the scientist and was like, this heals you. And then they were like, okay, let's check if it really does. And then obviously this is where having a degree and being successful in your area can change the world, you know. And we think that the little choices don't change the world, but it really does, you know. This proves that scientists was curious. Those scientists were curious enough to know that maybe there is something more that can heal us besides these fake medications. Once again, we're not saying to not take them, but just saying that there was other sources.
Truly believe back, early 1900s, 1800s even.
Probably even back then,
Yeah, like I believe that they truly wanted to help people. And after the Great Reset, if you guys ever get into that rabbit hole, if you guys ever go down that hole,
please don't give them another rabbit hole. They're already probably going to go on a rabbit hole with all these plant medicines.
But yeah, once you guys start learning more about the resets of each century, yeah, I just believe that people back then actually did, especially scientists did do the research in finding cures, right? Not just putting a little band-aid on the cure or putting the little band-aid on pain and whatnot.
Pain, yeah.
But definitely there are some shows also that can help explain
Help understand.
a little bit more, understand like some of these medicines. For instance, we finished a series called Common Side Effects.
They need to do season 2, by the way, like ASAP, like tomorrow. Gosh, it was such a good show. Such a good show.
So yeah, if you guys ever tune in to Common Side Effects, you guys can. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix.
No, I think it's on. No, it's on.
YouTube,
No, it's on.
or,
Oh my gosh.
whatever. Whenever
What
you
is that
search
thing?
it, search it
No,
up.
now I want to let them know where it's at. It's
Is it Apple? No, not Apple.
no, the X one.
Prime.
The X one, the Max.
Oh, IMAX.
IMAX.
I think that's what it's called.
No,
IMAX, Max.
it's Max.
Oh, whatever.
He said IMAX. Boy.
But anyways, the show is called Common Side Effects. It's a great show if you guys like Adult Swim. It's very informative in, I guess, the psilocybin mushroom world.
Community. Yeah,
and there's also definitely much more other ones.
Well, for that one, just so you guys can have a little more context on the common side effects, it's practically a guy that goes out to Peru and he finds a healing mushroom and he's been looking for it. I guess you can say he's almost like a scientist, but doesn't have the degree. He just kind of is curious about life and curious about the world's mysteries, and he starts growing this mushroom. And not only that, but he grabs it and he presents it to pharma, letting them know that you're destroying the world and you're not letting them know that there's more than just this pharma that's making people sick and more sick as the time goes by. We'll run some clips for you guys so you guys can see that how this show is absolutely cool playing now.
Next question.
Oh, God. My boss just said diarrhea on stage. I'm going to have to call you back.
Hello, yes, my question is, when will this company stop the destruction it's causing not just to indigenous communities?
Okay.
Excuse me, I have the floor. In the Peruvian highlands, to rare local plants, to
we have a whole
fungi,
system
to an entire ecosystem.
Can someone get security, please?
No, we don't need security.
Security, please.
Excuse
Look,
me.
buddy, we're not doing this.
Hold on. Let me finish. This company, your company, has destroyed fungal colonies that were there 3 million years. This is a Banisteriopsis. Does that mean anything to you?
Security,
It's been
please.
here since before insects. Hey, don't touch me. Do not touch me. Don't touch the plant. Okay, Francis, hey, can I tell you a secret?
Yeah, please.
Okay, just go with me for a minute. What if there were a medicine that could heal, like, almost anything?
Well, yeah, that would be great, sure.
Yeah, right? But what if they didn't want you to know about it?
They? Sorry, who's they?
They is Big Pharma. It's the insurance companies, the government. Think about all the people who make tons of money just from keeping us sick by keeping us unwell.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Well, yeah, it's a sick world.
What the fuck?
But there's a cure.
the fuck?
But besides that, there's another one called The Midnight Gospel. That one we only saw a couple of episodes, but I thought it was
Yeah, I've
really
only seen a
interesting.
few, but you've seen most of them.
Yeah, I've seen a lot more. They only did one season, which I thought it was really sad. But, you know, a lot of these shows will not get the light that needs to be given because they will raise too much of the vibration, and we're meant to live in a fear vibration. Unfortunately, it's just part of the humanity experience. But this one does talk about different planets. It talks about different life lessons. It talks about vulnerability as men and how it's okay, you know. And then, for example, in this clip where his mother is kind of explaining to him how death works. And, you know, when she kind of lets him just cry because he's like, how do you get over a heartbreak? And she was like, what do you mean you just cry? And low-key, that really, like, my heart, I was like, that is so true, you know. Like, you don't let a heartbreak consume you. You kind of just do really have to feel it, you know.
4 years ago you called to tell us that you had 6 months to live.
I have been told that at least a dozen times.
A dozen times that you've had 6 months to live.
I have been told to call a crematorium and find out how much it would cost to be cremated because I had maybe a month or 6 weeks, and that I needed to know that so that I could pay the money up front before I died. And I have made the call to the crematorium, and I found out that it was $750. Thank you very much.
Wow. God, that is so fucked.
The possibility that there is some kind of force that will take us out when it's time to go out is nothing that I can do anything about.
Right.
So I may as well make peace with it.
Right.
It's easier to go with the flow of that particular river than it is to try to fight it. That there is that possibility. We're all going to die.
I know. And and this is that saying, and I don't know where it comes from, but that meditation is preparation for death.
I think that's true. And meditation is one spiritual practice that prepares us for death. But also, you know, if you look at the world, what you see is things appearing and disappearing. And humans are a part of the whole of that. And humans appear and they disappear off the face of the earth. That just happens. You know, our egos personalize it and we consider ourselves special cases.
Yes.
But we're really not. You know, we are part of the whole, and everything in the whole transforms all the time. Changes form, transfigures.
You're a special case.
It's because I'm your mama.
No, I know this transfigure. I know, but come on. There's no way to stop the heartbreak. What do you do about that?
You cry. You cry.
You gotta express those emotions.
Yeah.
Like how I said earlier, like I was saying earlier, like don't just bury them so deep down below to where you numb yourself from everything, love, joy, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So you numb yourself so much that you want to avoid those emotions. Yeah.
And like with these shows, it just really shows that it's all up here. You know, we create our own sicknesses and our own miseries, you know. But do you think healing is really just becoming aware, or what is healing? You know, I feel like people get confused about that. And I feel that maybe I was a little confused about what healing is. How can we explain what is healing? What are we healing from in general, you know?
Well, with my experience, I guess I really just needed to heal myself, my soul. Because when you condemn your soul is when you start, I guess you could say, like inviting in sicknesses and, you know, issues in your life, because you're not giving your soul, I guess, what it requires or needs, right? For instance, I'm a person who loves like the beach, who loves being out in water, nature. And when I go so long without experiencing those things, it's like kind of like you kind of get thrown off balance.
Yeah.
And those things like help rebalance one, right? You have to kind of balance out your whole system, whether that's mentally, spiritually, and physically, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel that if maybe you had your parents were a lot more open or a lot more spiritual and actually took the time to understand things and help you understand your own brain, as a Gemini in general, and also living such weird experiences at such a young age, for example, your NDE, how do you think your life would have been so different in your journey in general if you would have understood these things a lot younger? Crickets.
So you gotta give me time to think about it.
It's like, this was not part of the fucking notes.
Nah, for me, definitely, I think it would have just made a lot much more sense at a younger age versus me having to figure things out at an older age.
Yeah, you wouldn't be fucking so much.
After after going through all the experiences I had to experience to, I guess, obtain some of that knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we go through a lot of things, good and bad, and within those things there's a lesson to learn. So I think if, how you said it, my parents would have had that understanding themselves and been able to explain to me a lot more, I think it would definitely help and guide me much more better in life, right?
Yeah, 100%. I really can't say. I don't think my life would have turned out different in that sense because my family,
definitely.
Well, my family was very like spiritual and very.
But if they would have done the
religious.
work early.
Oh, I mean, yeah. If my parents would have done the work very early on, and before having us or after having us, and actually done their work, my life would have probably been super different. And we've seen different realities of how our life would turn out. I think I would have been a psychologist at the moment. I think I would not be living here. I don't think I will be living in Nevada in general. I think I would have definitely done more like remote therapy or somewhere where I felt more fulfilled, but
yeah.
But I mean, coulda, woulda, shoulda, now we're living this life and it's our responsibility to make it better.
Yes. At the end of the day, it's part of our journey.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, would you describe the mushroom through your own experience?
How would I describe the mushrooms through my own experience? I guess with my experience, it was more of, I would say, awareness for me. Being aware of myself, my potential, and not only just that, but being aware of much more, right? Much more that what we can do. One of the things, or I guess one of the quotes that I like from the movie Scarface is, I believe it's like, you own the world. And I think that's kind of one of the things that I guess mushrooms has shown me is like, you could own the world. Like, not saying I can own the world, but you can own your life. You can do the things that you love. Do the things that you love, and you'll go about owning your own world, right? Because we all create our own world. The thing is, the choices and everything that we make, that's what guides us through this journey of our world, our bubble. And you do have the choice to dictate how you want to live your life. So I think for me it was like that. I'm not sure what it was for you. Maybe you can elaborate on your experience.
Well, for me, mushrooms is such a fun experience for me. One moment you're laughing, one moment you're crying, one moment you're very in a deep meditation. And I always was obsessed with Adventure Time, and I just thought that they were so cool how they would visit different planets or just like be in their own little world. And then I know where they start crying, and then I know where they start laughing. And I feel like that was very much how shrooms are. It gives you that perspective of like, you grieve one moment and you're grieving your old self and you're grieving a moment that you went through, and then the next you're kind of like, that felt so good to just let go of, that felt so good to just like pour my heart out and just let it be and no longer need to touch that subject, at least not with that pain that was left in my heart. So for me, like, I mean, obviously mushrooms have helped me a lot in that sense.
Yeah. And with your experience, what are some of the things that you weren't really aware of consciously? And by, I guess, having experienced those with plant medicine, what were some of the things, I guess, that you were programmed to believe? And then after doing your journey through plant medicine, how did those two coincide, right? How did they, I guess, go against each other as far as what you were programmed to believe, and then what you've been shown now that, I guess, shown the reality, I guess, of how things function?
Yeah, I mean, mine would definitely be, thinking that all men were the same, and I think that's just something that I continuously say, that just thinking that all men are the same, that I don't need a man, that that obviously I can do everything on my own. And not only that, but also like the machismo, thinking that it was okay to kind of live through that, and thinking that being in toxic relationships was okay, and it kind of like dissolved me through all my plant medicine journeys. Was kind of like, how they say, like, you can't do plant medicine and think that you're not going to do the work, and you can't live in the clouds all the time either, So it was sure something that helped me realize that I needed to reprogram my brain, and I needed to know that they were not all the same, and that it was not okay to deal with certain things in life. And I really needed to, just that part, and just kind of playing that victim mentality and thinking that, oh, like, why me? Why this is happening to me? And they're pieces of shit only to me, and I'm a good person. But it's all perspective and it's all frequency. So definitely dragged me by the fucking hair and was just kind of like, you really need to change your perspective, because that's just not okay, But what about for you?
Well, for me, I guess sort of similar to yours, where, like, how I said earlier before, like, I was a person who kind of like set my day, right? And I pretty much had control of my day. Like, no, like, this is at this time I'm doing this time I'm doing that. Then I have this thing at this time. So for me, it was just always about like controlling my day. And I guess I would expect it to go that way versus now it's like, yeah, we have this plan, but those plans oftentimes don't always go as planned. So things like that. Another thing, as I mentioned earlier, was love, right? Like, I wasn't really raised around love a lot. Like, it was just more, how you say, especially like in Hispanic households, oftentimes there's a lot of masculinity. What the male says gets done, and that's that. Don't ask questions. Don't.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? So I was just, me growing up with that. Like, obviously, I knew that wasn't right, but it was just, obviously I can't change the mentality of an adult at that time, because they're like, oh, you're a kid. What do you know?
What do you know? Yeah.
What have you experienced? What do you know? Right.
100%.
So you kind of like, I wouldn't say I grew up with those beliefs, but I just grew up. That's what I grew up knowing. Yeah. I never believed it, but that's what I grew up knowing. So at sometimes I would be like, I guess with my awakening, I would like fight those two things, right? It's like, no, but it should be like this. And then obviously you start learning more. You're like, but it shouldn't. Right? Definitely do your, not just your research, but like really think about it for long, right? Oftentimes we go making decisions without really thinking. Yeah. And that's one of the big things that causes our ego to always act. Right. Because I'm not really thinking about it. It is what it is. Whatever happens type of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's just about reprogramming your brain, you know. But we got our little guest here, but we're not gonna touch him because the moment we touch him, he's like, I'm gonna go the other way. He's right here. Look at him. But what specific vision or message did you get that it shook you? It kind of like shook you to your core and kind of, I guess, help you value life, the current life that you have, and just life in general. What was it?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, for me, it would be that we can control our destiny, or I guess not control, but we can dictate where our life can go, right?
Yeah.
We can choose to do bad, and it's gonna go bad. We can choose to do good, and then good things come.
Yes.
So for me, I guess it was one of those things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What about for you? Like, what was something that helped you understand or shook you and told you, like, yo, get it together?
Get your shit together. No, for me, is 100% valuing your gifts in this earth and valuing the experience of the earth. You know, for example, one movie that I can really, really relate to is, you know, the movie Soul. You know, he lived his life all the time trying to achieve so many things, but it was things that he didn't even want in his life. You know, it was more of like the things that everybody else wanted for him, and just kind of getting back to yourself and learning, like, hey, like, you know, you came here for a purpose and you came here to do the things that you have to do, you know, and not just work your 9 to 5 and that's it. And just kind of putting your ego to the side and realize that you have a purpose, you know, and you have a divine purpose, and you have work to do in this life, and the work is not to work for someone else. And sometimes people are here to work for someone else and help them accomplish the divine mission, but currently what I'm doing in my life, that is my 9 to 5, is not something that I feel that is changing at least the frequency of others, you know, and maybe I'm just being oblivious and I'm not being grateful, but I'm grateful for my job. But it's just things that you have to really create your reality.
Yeah. Yeah, no, most definitely. Like I said, I always say, even if you're at a job, it's a tool. It's a tool for you to use that to get to where you want.
Yeah.
Like I said, you know, some of us have to work a little harder than others, and that's fine. That's our journey.
Yep.
That's our journey to achieving and breaking generational curses, right?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we carry, you know, maybe we didn't hurt somebody in the past life, but maybe our families did.
Yeah.
Whether they stole something from somebody, stole land, stole whatever, gold, money, a business,
whatever
the case
or
may
a
be.
life, you know,
or killed somebody to obtain someone else's position in life or whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes we pay that cost through generations.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what wound do you feel was healed or touched during this experience, during your experiences with plant medicine?
What wounds were
Healed.
I guess a very deep one for me would probably be like abandonment. Like I always felt like I was just like at a younger age, I always felt like they kind of just like brush us off to the side, you know?
Yeah.
Like we didn't receive that attention and love. So to me, that felt like abandonment. So I guess for me, it would be abandonment.
Do you feel the plant medicine healed that, or I did? No, like for real. Like, do you feel like just feeling that understanding through the plant medicine really healed you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already aware of it, but definitely, I guess, diving deeper into it, it helps you become more aware of where the issue is.
Yeah.
And what it is that you need to do to heal that part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What about for you? Is there anything plant medicine did for you that
well, for me, I do truly feel that trauma is necessary. And if you're willing to feel the pain and carve yourself out of that pain and remembering who you are. For example, in the movie Moana, when they're searching for Tafiti's heart, and on her journey way back to it's kind of like saying, it's like the journey to oneself, the journey to oneself. It's about taming that fire and going back home, really, really realizing that pain is not who you are, and you're so much more than that. But, it's just, to me, it was more that pain isn't a misery. Pain is required to grow.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that, and they think that you have to. You don't have to feel pain, and then you don't have to feel sadness. And, like to this day, we trigger each other, and we have to. And sometimes, and it's horrible now, because in the sense of that, we don't even, how do I say, we kind of,
We throw the boxing gloves on and
no,
box it out.
no, it's like, it's kind of like calling each other out on our shit that we haven't healed. And I think those fights are more like, arguments or whatever you want to call them. I mean, I don't know, are a lot more tougher, because you're kind of like,
now you're aware of the things that need healing, right?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, definitely I feel that trauma is something that is required in this world, but do you want to wrap it out? Okay. But I mean, like I said, this is just our story related to the plant medicine. This is what we've been throughout the plant medicine, and how it has helped us in this lifetime. And we can hope that this information helped you guys to decide if this is something that you guys would like to take a journey onto. And if not, then I hope you guys enjoyed our stories.
Yeah, most definitely. Like she mentioned, we're not here to tell you guys to do these things. Definitely everybody do it at their own divine time. Also, these medicines are going to help you see things that you've been avoiding. So unless you're ready to face those things, face yourself most and foremost, and see yourself in the mirror for who you truly are, these plant medicines are, I won't say they're not going to help you, but you have to be the one to help yourself at the end of the day, because you're gonna be the one that has to do the work afterwards.
Yes.
Right? For instance, like if I don't know how to drive, and then someone's teaching me how to drive, and they're like, okay, I've taught you how to drive, and now it's up to you to continue practicing and learning how to properly drive the right way, getting that experience.
Yeah.
So most definitely, if you guys do try them, like I said, we're not implementing it for anybody to try. We're not telling you guys to do them. We're simply just expressing our experiences and a little bit of information of these plant medicines that we ourselves have experience with.
Yep.
And
well, I mean,
you got anything else to add to that?
No, I think we're good. I think we're gonna wrap this up, boys. Just wrap it up with, obviously, we thank you guys for staying tuned and watching our episodes. Like I said, this is just gonna help us to keep growing and hopefully bring you more valuable content and bring you guests that you may want to hear from. And yeah, we hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow us on Awaken the Minds podcast. Follow us, like, share, subscribe, please, and we will see you here on the next episode.
Yep, and then definitely we are again working on some merch, so we will definitely have merch for you guys. And we've also been upgrading our equipment little by little, so here and there you guys might see a change in our maybe quality or our sound quality or whatever. We've been upgrading, so
yeah,
stay tuned for some more upgrades.
100%. Well, I mean,
Cool.
yeah. Sorry, did I cut you off? No?
Go ahead,
All right,
baby girl.
perfect. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. If you guys are watching this at night, have a great night. If you guys are watching this in the morning, grand rising, But other than that, thank you guys for staying tuned. Like, share, follow, and we will see you guys on the next episode.
For shizzle. See y'all later. Adios.
So let's awaken the minds together.